talk a little bit about signal words. Write down everything that a professor writes on the board. That's the first strategy. That's the first strategy right there. Use a computer to organize some of your notes. Sometimes that's a good way if you're visually inclined with Visio or possibly with PowerPoint and stuff. Okay. Keep notes from each class separated in different notebooks. These are just some of the tips and strategies. Write the date, the name of the course, and the topic. That's always important. And as soon as you can, review your notes and fill in gaps while it's fresh in your mind. When we do a time management workshop, again, I'm talking about other workshops that are coming. You might have time in between a class, like an hour, maybe 30 minutes. A lot of times when I was at UCSD, that was either time for me to eat, veg out, sleep. It wasn't necessarily about some of these filling in the gaps. I can tell you this, what's great about teaching this now is I wish I had been this kind of student when I was an undergrad. Let me tell you that, okay? But while it's fresh in your mind, right after class, review the notes, okay? Review your notes, fill in some of the questions, start with something fresh, okay? And then before you go into class, review those. Fill in gaps, ask classmates, professors, or TAs. And this is important for you to go ahead and go to office hours. How many of you have heard the term orange and gray form? How many of you went to orientation? How many of you don't remember anything about orange and gray forms from orientation? Okay. One of the things we ask you to do every single orange and gray form, we ask you to go seek your professors in office hours, your TAs in office hours. Again, it's not enough that we're giving you money. It's also you taking ownership for your education. And we ask you to do some of these things. Again, this is all part of an academic success strategy. It's not enough for us to give you money. Furthermore, when you get involved with our mentoring program, we also want this to be sort of like jobs of the future here in the Coachella Valley. Very, very integrated thing that we're doing here. Does that make sense? As you start to understand a little bit more about this program, I will continue to bring some of these things up so they're not foreign to you, okay? Take notes in your own words and use abbreviations. This is going to be really, really powerful because this is some of the stuff that's sort of shorthand for you, okay? So here, when you're listening like this guy, he's all ears, okay? Here are some of the things to listen for. If a professor or an instructor says these words, these are things to take note of. To indicate that another main idea example follows, that person will say also, in addition, furthermore, moreover, another example of this. If you start hearing these kinds of key words, that should be a tip-off. You know what? You know, whenever anyone says, it's funny. You almost have to train yourself to listen for these things. When I'm like kicking it in some places and some people, and you hear people say, "Oh my God, I got the story to tell," like keyword, time to eavesdrop, right? That's the same thing here. You start hearing some of these things, you're like, "Ooh, I better take notes." Okay, this is going to be important. This is going to be juicy, all right? Because due to characteristics, number sequence, different contrasts, disadvantages equally, on the other hand, all of these different words give you a clue what's going on. So this is indicating another idea that's coming up, to add emphasis to stuff, okay? Indicate a conclusion. They say in conclusion, right? To indicate an example follows, to illustrate as such specifically, or to say, for example. To indicate an exception. Oh, that's another thing too. We also teach test-taking strategies here. We tell you how to kind of wade through some of the multiple choice tests, test-taking strategies. So some of these words that you see in terms of where the heck did it go? Exception, sometimes multiple tests, multiple choice tests are like this all the time, this never, never, or all the time, or only in certain instances. Those are kind of key words not only that you listen to in lecture, but you also look for in tests. So get to know these words, okay? Cause or effect, things that designate categories or divisions, indication of sequence, and things that are being compared. How many of you had a test to say compare and contrast? Okay? So you're going to see these words. You're going to pull out your little mind map as you put together your essay. Right? You feeling me? This is the powerful stuff here. If you get good with abbreviations, even your own abbreviations, this will help you a ton. You see this here? This little red box up here? This is like shorthand language for text in French. Okay? So like LMFAO, right? Ha ha ha, right? Okay, that exists up there too. So understand that, you know, you're really good at doing stuff kind of short because you have for a text message only 160 characters. Why not think of like the amount of time that you have as sort of like a short amount of time? Learn some of these handy dandy shorthand notations, right? This is an and. This is all my handwriting, by the way. I don't know. Sometimes it's legible and sometimes it's not. Okay. Disagree, sad face, right? In agreement, probably happy face. Increase, decreasing, that was huge in science, okay? Inverse relationships, if something goes up, this thing goes down, okay? Because, therefore, minimum, maximum, male, female, that's also good in biology. Change, the letter D in Greek, delta, okay? Agreement, there you go. Approximately, with, without, does not work. If some of these things, oh, here's a good one on the test. Okay. Get to know some of these things. Because if you start hearing some of these words, then you can actually start to assign some of these symbols to the notes you're taking. So that it starts to make sense. Make sense here? Yeah? Okay. So in conclusion here, we want you to utilize a note-taking strategy, okay, that works for you. This has to be very personal. That's why I give you a lot of different examples, but I also have you take time to assess your own note-taking skills and your note-taking aptitude, okay? The more you practice note-taking, the better they will improve. Note-taking is a skill. How many of you would say you're a better driver now than you were when you first started? Yeah, me too. I remember back in the old days, the Stone Age, they used to give you a California driver's permit at age 15 and a half. Man, I don't know what the hell I was doing driving around a car when I was 15 and a half. So I almost got like laid out by a trash truck one time. It was crazy. I drove like the wrong way in downtown San Diego one time. I'm like, what the hell am I doing, right? But I got better as I drove more and more. It's kind of the same thing too with note-taking. The more you do it, the better you get at it. If this is not a habit for you, it takes about 22 times to do something to become a habit. That's what they say. In order to break an old habit, it takes maybe more than 30 times to not do something to break a habit. So think about that. In order to start a new habit, it might be actually easier than it is to break the old habit. That's why people say, oh, I'm going to try this, and then they kind of crap out. Because 22 is still too long. 30 is like way too long to even try to stop something. Okay? So the more you use this, the better it will improve. So stick with it. Stick with it as much as you can. Are there any questions to anything I talked about? I talked about 3 different methods, okay? I talked about signal words. I talked about shortcuts. Gave examples of what these kind of notes kind of look like when they're done poorly versus done well. Gave you examples of how you can apply them in different areas. And overarching all of this is talk to you and gave you a preview of the way in which these will all fit together with other workshops we'll be presenting in the future. Time management, goal setting, exam prep, all of these different things. I'm going to continue to harken back and make you think about not compartmentalizing this, but actually thinking of this as a college success system for you. Okay? Any questions? Good times. All right. So, what I want to do now, oh, by the way, do you know what this is? Say it again? That is the first cell phone, boys and girls. Isn't that tight? Right? It was like this. Remember, do you guys remember Zoolander? Anyone see the movie Zoolander and his cell phone was like this? All right? That's the first cell phone. And I guess that guy's like really rich now. Okay? But yeah, he could have sure used a jitterbug now. I don't know what the deal is. So turn up your phone. Make sure that you don't miss those important phone calls on a Friday. Here's what I'm going to have you do. Fill out a 1-page evaluation. It's not even a back. Okay, just a 1-page. So give us feedback on this workshop. Give us some ideas in the future.